Hello! This week I'm going to be making a cheesecake. The great thing about this cheesecake is that it only uses a few ingredients. It also doesn't use butter in the crumble, which makes it an even healthier cake. The first ingredients you need are 2 lemons. You're going to also need a packet of digestive biscuits. Don't use up the full packet though if it's a big one. I only used about 3/4 of the packet. The next ingredient you're going to need is a cup of chocolate flakes. I'm using Galaxy Ripples. And lastly, you're going to need a can of condensed milk and 500 grams of mascarpone cheese. The first thing you're going to do is mash up your packet of digestive biscuits. You can put it into a plastic bag, which will make it a lot easier. Then, seal the top and take a rolling pin and carefully mash it up until it forms a grainy type of sand. You're going to want to make sure that there are not big chunks left inside of it, because you don't want to be getting a huge chunk of digestive biscuits. I made a pot of the digestive biscuits earlier, and this is what it looks like. For the purpose of this, I've put it in a see-through glass container so that you can all see how much I'm using. As you can see, there's not a lot of the digestive biscuits in it. I did this because it's easier when it comes to putting on the mascarpone cheese, as it doesn't move around as much. I've only used that much of the digestive biscuits. And you now need to spread it out so it's laid flat so that it's easier when you put the cheese filling on top. Make sure it is as flat as possible because you don't want it to move around afterwards. This is how to make the base of my cheesecake. Next, grab a bowl. It doesn't matter how big or how small this bowl is. You're going to put your 500 grams of mascarpone cheese into it, followed by your condensed milk and later on your 2 lemons. I'm only going to use 3/4 of this condensed milk because it's sweetened condensed milk that I'm using. The next thing you're going to want to do is take your packet of mascarpone cheese. As you can tell when I open it, mascarpone cheese is at quite a thick consistency, and you can tell this by when I prod my fork in. You're going to want to make sure you use the whole packet of 500 grams of cheese, otherwise you won't have enough. Tip out the whole packet and scoop out any remainders that are still inside the pot. What you are next going to want to do is take your fork and flatten it out. This will make it easier to stir in the condensed milk afterwards. You can use an electric whisk, but I'm going to use my fork at the moment. Because it is at quite a thick consistency, it's really hard to stir, so you might want to use an electric whisk. Next, I'm going to open up my can of condensed milk. As I told you before, I'm only using 3/4 of it because this is sweetened condensed milk. Once you have poured in your sweetened condensed milk, you're going to want to mix it in with the mascarpone cheese really well. If you haven't seen condensed milk before, it does look a bit like custard. There is still quite a lot of the condensed milk still in my pot. It does taste delicious, but only if you like sweet things. I wouldn't recommend you try it by itself. Next, take your fork and start to mix it together. If you are doing this by hand, it usually takes about 10 minutes for the mixture to smoothen out. However, if you use an electric whisk, it only takes a couple of minutes. This is super hard and you have to have some muscle to stir it. I have now finished stirring it together, and as you can see, the mascarpone cheese is a lot smoother than it was before when I started off by itself. It will also look like a pale yellow colour, and that is because of the sweetened condensed milk. Stir it with your fork just to make sure that when you lift it up, this mascarpone cheese doesn't still stick. It should instantly break away. Next, you're going to take your 2 lemons and your juicer and squeeze out the juice from your 2 lemons. You can buy juice from the store, but I find it tastes better with fresh lemon juice. Juice both the lemons and try not to pour any seeds in, unlike I always do. As you can tell, once you have done this, there's going to be a lot of lemon juice. Pour it straight into the mixture, and once you're done, you're going to want to start mixing it again with your fork. Oh no, I dropped in a seed. Try not to do that. Now take your fork and start mixing in. Make sure you mix in properly, because it doesn't taste very nice if you just have a giant blob of lemon by itself. What's really great about the lemon is that it has a really nice tangy flavour, which is a nice contrast from the sweet flavour from the condensed milk. It gives it a really nice balance to this cheesecake, and you can just taste quite a subtle hint when you're actually eating the cheesecake. It's really delicious. Keep on mixing until the lemon has completely combined with the mascarpone and sweetened condensed mixture. It should be really smooth. That is what mine looks like. The next step is to take your mixture of your base of the cheesecake and pour over the mascarpone cheese on top. If you want to, you can use a spatula to scoop out. Make sure you always pour away from you, otherwise it might splash on top of you. Once you've poured it all over, scoop out the remainders of the bowl using your spatula. Then, using the spatula again, spread out the mascarpone cheese on top of the crumble mixture. Make sure you keep it all balanced, because you don't want to have a little bit of crumble on one side and a lot on the other side. Try to keep it as level as possible. I am going to leave an outer border of the bottom base, the crumble, so that everyone can see it oozing out from the digestive biscuits oozing out from the side. It looks really great. Continue to smooth it out until you have formed a smooth top. I am now going to take my Galaxy flake and break it apart and sprinkle it on top. You will need about a cup of this, but I can't be bothered to measure it out, so I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm going to use about 3 of these Galaxy bars, just so that there's enough chocolate to cover the whole thing, but not too much. Make sure you break it up nice and fine, but not too small. You're going to want to make sure you do this as quick as possible, otherwise you'll end up with melted chocolate all over your hands. Finally, you're going to take your punnets of raspberries, like I'm doing, and you're going to want about a handful of them. Don't put too many on top, you still want to be able to see everything else below it. The raspberries is just a nice little fresh fruit on top of it. Don't forget to wash it though. When you put your raspberries on top, put them on top in a random formation. Don't worry about making it all nice and pretty. Just make sure you don't have it all clumped in one spot. Make sure it's spread out. That is how to make my super healthy raspberry flake cheesecake.